All right, let me introduce you to another program that is quite useful and very powerful and has a very specific kind of approach to doing sound design and live performance. Many of you may have heard of Ableton Live, or just called Live. This program is quite popular in the live performance, in the DJ, VJ communities, because it really has a number of features which allow you to be more improvisational and on the fly kind of thinking when you're performing. So I'm always interested in computer programs which maybe approach the idea of sound design and live performance in a very different way, which opens up creative possibilities. So the website here, if you just go to ableton.com, and this is so there's a video about this that lasts about a minute, and I think I'll just have you watch that, and then we'll go into the program and I'll give you a demonstration for how it works. One of the great things about this program that I'll be demonstrating, that is talked about in the video, is that they do have two different ways of looking at the sound. One which has a timeline in it, like we're used to seeing in your normal sequencers, where sound is kind of moving across a horizontal axis in time. But also they have what's called a session view, which to me is the interesting part of this program, which is not involved with sort of time scheduling, but allows you to just think of sound functions and explore them by pulling them in and out on the fly. So I'll let you watch the video, and then we'll take a look at the program. You can learn more about it.
If you've used other music software before, you're already familiar with some of what Live can do. This is Live's arrangement view, which is the familiar timeline way of working with music software. Time is laid out from left to right, and tracks are stacked vertically. Live also has another view, however, called the session view. In session view, time isn't represented at all. The tracks are stacked from left to right. And these boxes here can contain what we call clips. A clip is any piece of musical material, from a few notes to a whole song. In the session view, you can start and stop all of the clips independently of the others, and they always stay in sync. This is a great way of performing live on stage or experimenting with musical ideas without having to worry about where they fit into a song form. It's a great way of writing music too, because you can record everything you do from the session view into the arrangement view. You can toggle back and forth between the session and the arrangement anytime by pressing the Tab key. Writing music in this way isn't really like using music software. It's more like playing an instrument, because you get to experiment with parts and build a song as you go. Live comes with a great collection of instruments and effects, so you get everything you need. And you can load devices, move them around in your set, and even route signals between tracks in real time, so you can stay in the creative flow and never stop the music. That's just a taste of what Live can do. You can check out how other artists are using it, learn more about it, and even try it for yourself at ableton.com.
Okay, you'll notice in that one of the features of this that really is a lot of people utilize is having some kind of external MIDI controller device plugged into this, because each of the elements in particularly the session view you can control with various kinds of control input devices. So it's very effective to be doing live performance with this that has a much more of a physical, kinesthetic kind of response to the software than MIDI programs do. So now let's go into the program and take a look at it for a second. So we'll hide this. And so when you go into the program, you'll see this, which has a library of different kind of sets and clips and so forth, which we'll talk about in just a second. This is the session view, which you'll see we can drag and drop different kind of instruments and session scenes, so forth, into here, and then we'll set them up in our session view. If we hit the tab, then we move into the more of the standard view, which is laying across the horizontal time axis. But I'm going to show you right now just sort of how things work on this on-the-fly session view, which I think is the more interesting part of this. So let me just quickly maybe load in one of the already constructed live sets here, and you'll see it loads in a lot of different sounds, and this is essentially the screen will be working from. Once I get this in, I'll close this library so that we can then see everything that is here. So what you'll see here are various instruments under certain categories of sounds, and that each of them has maybe a different kind of patching that is laid out, and then we think of these as just, they're not in any kind of time, they're just laid out to access anytime we want them. We can bunch them in various coordinations so that we can have things such as intro or the first verse or a break, or so we can put them into sections. Each section can be defined by pulling up one or more of these different kind of loops or sound files. As you pull things from the library and drag them into here, they automatically sync to the time and the key, so forth, that you're working on. So when you see here, we can solo. We can also turn on ARM these so that we can play them from an external keyboard. There's a built-in keyboard function here that I can use just my computer keyboard to trigger any kind of the instrument sounds here. So if I turn that on, so I can play just the individual sounds of that guitar. If I had a MIDI keyboard, or this is just from my computer keyboard, I'm triggering those notes. So each of these sounds, you can sort of hear what they sound like just by arming them. Hear what each one sounds like. So that's essentially the function here. And then you've got panning and volume, obviously. We have some more effect sends if we want to add more different effects to it. So any of the instruments and the effects that are in this program show up down on this bottom list here. So if I go up and start just the intro for a second here, and let's see, if I start this, then you will see everything that's in this particular lineup here will start playing simultaneously. I can click on another one and you'll see the instruments will start flashing, which means that it'll get to the next beat point, which will allow it to then jump to that. So if I'll start with the intro, for example. So we're hearing these 4 different scenes or clips that are playing in this scene. So if I wanted to solo that and to hear each one, what's happening in each one, I can turn on that one. There's just the hi-hat that's going by very softly. And then the piano sound, very softly in the background, the piano sound. And then the guitar is the most prominent foreground sound there by itself. So now you can see down here at the bottom, this section allows you to look at all the different instruments that are included in the scene, as well as any effects processing that are here. So let me just kind of scroll through. There's the guitar fast steel. Obviously you can change the parameters of this. You can do lots of customization of this. There's equalizer here, the kind of a more master utility gain there. This is running through a compressor. We can set the threshold and the pressure and so forth. Different kind of amplifier. We can change a different kind of distortion and so forth in the amplification. And then finally running through a reverb. So it's very easy to, if you want to go to our library and take other effects, just drag those into here. You've also got, as I mentioned, the Max for Live program allows you to download a lot of the applications which were developed in the Max operating system, and then you'll have that in your library and you can drag a lot of specific Max programs, and Max for Live can be connected into this very easily. So when we then start to customize all the different kind of effects and instrument sounds up here, then we can start to create our intro and then moving into the first section. If I wanted to, in this bridge section right here, if I wanted to and play some other things as part of it, you can easily just add other kinds of sounds to that or turn them off. So we'll hear what they sound like by themselves. Here once again, if I arm this, I can then, with my MIDI controller, be playing and add some sounds to that and record that or play along with it live. So obviously this gives you the capability of doing much more on the fly kind of programming, and of course you can drop new instruments into that as it's playing, and it'll sync up to that, and you can then turn on different ones, create new sections as you're going. So for anybody involved in live performance, particularly in the kind of the DJ scene where you have a lot of loops and you have a lot of things that need to synchronize on a certain time frame, this is really a great program for that. You can see there's a lot of flexibility. Obviously any of these changes you do to the instruments and effects processing down here will also work just as well. changing the samples out. So everything can be done real time, real live. And of course, as you record any kind of MIDI notes in that, you can then toggle back over to the more traditional kind of way of looking at a MIDI track or MIDI sequencer kind of tracks here in this other format. So this is just a quick overview of how live works. I just wanted to show you sort of the interface so that if you do get interested in this particular program, it's very fun to work in, and it gives you a lot of options for customizing the sound, but then because there's so many different loops and things that you can purchase from other vendors and pull into this and make your own, that it gives a tremendous flexibility for doing really creative sound design, but also particularly for in a kind of a more creative live performance, improvisational kind of approach to sound. So that's Ableton Live.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.